April in Rwanda is a time of solemn remembrance. Every year, as the rains begin to fall, the nation pauses to commemorate the victims of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. It is a period of deep reflection, a time to honor the memory of over 1 million souls brutally murdered in just 100 days. The world watched in horror as neighbors turned on neighbors, as hatred consumed a nation, leaving behind an unimaginable trail of death and destruction. But even in the face of such unimaginable suffering, the spirit of the Rwandan people remained unbroken. This essay delves into the history of the genocide, exploring the factors that led to this horrific event and examining the aftermath and the long road to healing. It is a story of unimaginable cruelty, but also one of resilience, reconciliation, and the enduring power of the human spirit. By understanding the past, we can work towards a future where such atrocities are never repeated. This is the story of Rwanda's journey from genocide to resilience. To understand the roots of the Rwandan genocide, we must look back to the era of colonialism. Before the arrival of Europeans, Rwandan society was a complex tapestry of social structures and identities. The Hutu, Tutsi, and Twa lived together, their relationships governed by a system of monarchy and shared customs. However, the arrival of German and later Belgian colonizers in the late 19th and early 20th centuries disrupted this delicate balance. The colonizers, seeking to consolidate their control over Rwanda, exploited existing social divisions. They introduced the concept of racial hierarchy, arbitrarily classifying the population into distinct ethnic groups based on physical characteristics and economic status. The Tutsi, often taller and associated with cattle herding, were deemed superior by the colonizers and given preferential treatment in education and administration. This policy of divide and rule had devastating consequences. It sowed the seeds of resentment and distrust between the Hutu and Tutsi communities, creating a climate of tension and suspicion that would have lasting repercussions. The colonial legacy of ethnic division would continue to cast a long shadow over Rwanda, ultimately contributing to the horrors of 1994. The year 1959 marked a turning point in Rwandan history. As the grip of Belgian colonialism began to weaken, the winds of change swept across Africa. In Rwanda, this period witnessed the rise of Hutu nationalism, fueled by years of resentment against Tutsi privilege. A series of violent uprisings, fueled by ethnic hatred, erupted across the country, targeting the Tutsi population. Thousands of Tutsi were killed or forced to flee their homes, seeking refuge in neighboring countries. This marked the beginning of a long and painful exile for many Tutsi, who endured hardship and discrimination in refugee camps. The Rwandan Revolution of 1959, while marking the end of colonial rule, also ushered in an era of deep-seated ethnic tensions and violence. The newly formed Hutu-dominated government implemented discriminatory policies, further marginalizing the Tutsi population. Fear and mistrust permeated Rwandan society, laying the groundwork for future conflict. The violence of the 1960s served as a grim foreshadowing of the horrors to come, highlighting the fragility of peace in a nation grappling with its colonial past and struggling to forge a new identity. The 1980s and early 1990s saw a resurgence of ethnic tensions in Rwanda, culminating in the horrors of the 1994 genocide. The formation of the Rwandan Patriotic Front, RPF, a rebel group composed primarily of Tutsi refugees who had fled to Uganda, reignited the flames of conflict. In 1990, the RPF launched an armed struggle against the Hutu-led government, seeking to overthrow the regime and secure the right of return for Tutsi refugees. The civil war that ensued further exacerbated ethnic divisions and created a climate of fear and paranoia. The government, under the leadership of President Juvenal Habyarimana, exploited the conflict to consolidate its power and incite hatred against the Tutsi population. Propaganda and hate speech spread like wildfire, demonizing the Tutsi and painting them as enemies of the state. The Arusha Accords, a peace agreement signed in 1993, offered a glimmer of hope for a negotiated settlement to the conflict. However, the assassination of President Habyarimana on April 6, 1994, shattered any prospects for peace. The plane crash, which also claimed the life of the Burundian president, ignited a wave of violence that would engulf the nation and plunge it into the abyss of genocide.